Before we dive further into the Ranorex API and everything you can do with the custom code, let's first take a look at where you can find the Ranorex API documentation. So from the help menu in Ranorex Studio, there's an API documentation link which will open up a help file with the Ranorex documentation. Another alternative is to visit it on their website. It's a bit hidden on the website, so the easiest way to get there is to search for Ranorex API documentation in Google, and then first or second link here, I think it's the second now, will point you to the online version of the API documentation. And then within the documentation you can take a look at all of the methods there. You can also use the search. So for example, if I search for the find single method, which we will be using later, if you wait for a minute. So let's take a look at the element methods. There you can see find single either with a path or with a duration. You can click on it to see the details, the possible return values or exceptions, and so on and so on. So basically everything you expect from methods documentation. Okay, so to be able to write our custom code, we need to be able to access the items from our repository. There's a couple of different ways to do it, so I've already briefly touched upon it, but let's take a more in-depth look. So the first way and the easiest way is if the reference is already there. So that will be the case when we use custom code in a recording. So let's take a look there. And we will see that for our recording or for our action, the items are passed using a repo item info object. Okay. And so then from that repo item info object, we can either do find adapter and then pass in the type of object it is, and then say click. In case you have no idea what type of item it is, it's you're not sure if it's a button or text, you can use another trick. So you can use button info dot find adapter and say it's an unknown object. Okay, so and an unknown object basically has the same properties, so you can also do click, double click. So all of the find children. So you can do all of the possible actions you can do on any other item. Okay, you will also see when you're creating a code, a custom code, that your custom code file is a partial class. If we take a second look at the regular tests, you will see that this is also part of the partial class, so both of the code files together form a class that is your custom code recording. And what we can also see here is that the repo is already present. So if we see here data miner, global data miner cube library, data miner cube library repository called repo, and then a reference to this if we were to change this in our recording. So instead of our data miner cube library, I choose to have a new repository I create in the element connections. Okay, and I'm just going to leave the repository one name, say create. Okay, let's save this for a minute. No, I don't want to. And then I go and take a look in the code again. Let's save it first to ensure that the code is generated. In fact, I would expect it to be updated here. Let's maybe close and reopen it. Okay, so the custom code test. So it's maybe not updating because it's not finding these. Okay, so if I remove this and then I save my method and take a look at the user code, you can see here that no, it's this one for the code. Yeah, so now it's changed to element connections repository 1. Okay. So let's let's switch back to our data miner cube library and add some user code again. So I can add my click buttons again, and then if I search for a button again, I can add some more, but add my buttons back. Okay, and we're back to our previous state. So if I now take a look again in the code, it's changed back to data miner cube library repository. Okay, so that was just for demo. So I'll remove this test repository again. Okay, so that's the first way, plain and simple. You select it in your recording, and then in the C# file of the recording, it's generated automatically, the repo, and you can access it in the custom codes of the recording, and you don't need to add anything manually. So the second way to access a repository is by adding it yourself. Typically you need this in a user code collection or in a code module. So first let's add a user code collection. Okay, we create our user code collection. In our user code collection, we add a new user code method. Okay, and first thing I'll add is a reference to the data miner cube library. And then in my user code method, I can add a repo object. So data miner cube library repository, typically we call it repo, and then we refer to an instance of the data miner cube library repository. Now this is usable within the single user code method, but typically in a user code collection you want to use the repo in multiple methods, probably most of the methods within the user code collection. So what we can do is move the repo out of the single method and move it into the class, and in order for that to work we need to make it private and static. Okay, and so now I can still continue to use my repo to find things, for example the about window and close button, and then click it. Okay, so that's the first way in the user code collection. And the second is in a user code method. Or user code module, sorry. Okay, so let's now take a look in our user code module. In our user code module you can add it the same way, so you add reference to data monocube library, and then from that we add the data monocube library repository called repo, an instance of that, and then we can use it in our methods to find items. If you create a more complex user code module with several methods, you can pass the repo as an argument to the methods you're calling from within your run method. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is when we have a method that's created inside a user code collection. So let's take a look here. So currently I have my method 1, which is just a void with no additional parameters, and I go to the repo within my test, and I just say click this activity button, but there's a second way to do this, and that is to reference or to send items to the method from within your recording. So let's take a look at the custom code test recording we've created before. So if you remember, we've added 2 buttons into our recording. We've selected those, then we did right click and merge them into user code. And so if we take a look at our user code, we see here that 2 repo item infos are passed into our custom methods. So button info 1 and button info 2. Now this is a nice party trick, and let's take a look if we can repeat it in our user code collections. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll add an additional user code method. So my method 2. Okay, and now I'll just add some repo info items. Repo item info. It's the IntelliSense is not recognizing it immediately, so let's take a quick look in the recording what else I need. Oh yeah, I need the reference to the ranorex.core.repository. So by default that's not added in user code in a user code collection. So let's add it first. Repository. Okay, so once I've added this reference to the core repository, the repo item info should be known. Okay, there we go. We're just gonna call it button 1 and button 2 for now. Okay, I'll add a second one. And just for fun, I'll add an integer, and I'm going to name it repeats, and this is going to set how many times I want to click those buttons. Okay, so now inside my method, I'm going to create a for loop. So for I equals 0 and I is smaller than repeats, so we're going to increment it. Okay, and so here we will do button 1 dot. Okay, we cannot immediately click it. So first we'll have to do some kind of find action. So there's two ways to do this. The first one that we've also seen in the code from our custom code test, where is it? Is to use the find adapter. As I've said previously, you can use it with the fixed item or with an unknown. So in our user code collection, I've named these two button 1 and button 2, but we're not exactly sure that the people that are going to use our methods are going to be nice and actually pass buttons to it. So I'm going to use an unknown. So I go like button 1 dot find adapter unknown, and then let's take a quick peek. I need brackets, and then I can do a dot click. Okay, so click the button, do the same for button 2. Find adapter. I don't know what it will be exactly, but I want to click it. Okay, and so that's it. That's our custom method. Let's see what happens when we add this to a recording. Save this one first. I'll go into my recording. I'll add new action. So user code. It's not in the short menu here, so I'll go select from library. And then in my user code collection, it's my method 2, and I can see here in the overview that there's which parameters it needs. So it needs a button 1, a button 2, and a repeat. I'll confirm my selection, and so as you can see now, have here 2 item selectors. So when I click the 3 dots there, it will show my repository, or I can just drag stuff from my repository below and drag it on there. Okay, so it's just going to maximize and minimize back and forth a couple of times, and I want to repeat this so I can link it to a variable if I want to, but for now I'll just set it to a fixed number of 2 times. Okay, I can save it and build this. So This is basically passing variables from your recording into your custom user method. That's stored within a user code collection.